In the sunny town of Brightville, there was a boy named Hugo who was known for one thing above all, his honesty. Hugo didn't just tell the truth. He said exactly what was on his mind, no matter how it sounded. If his friend Macy wore her polka dot dress, Hugo would say, "That dress looks like a dancing watermelon." If Mr. Harrison, the baker, made a burnt loaf, Hugo would point out, "That bread looks like it came from a dragon's oven." Everyone in Brightville knew Hugo and his big, honest voice. Sometimes it made people laugh, but sometimes it made them frown. "Hugo, you could use a little sugar with your words," his grandma Nana Ruth said with a knowing smile. But Hugo just shrugged. He liked being honest, and he thought everyone else did too. One day, Brightville was buzzing with excitement. The Festival of Wonders was coming to town, complete with jugglers, dancers, magicians, and a grand parade. Hugo couldn't wait to see the performers and taste the delicious festival treats. He walked through the town square with Macy, his best friend, who was practically skipping with joy. "I'm going to show you my new magic trick at the festival, Hugo," Macy said with a twinkle in her eyes. Hugo replied, "I hope it's not like last time when your hat flew off and hit Mr. Harrison's cat." Macy's smile faltered, and she sighed. "Hugo, you could try being a bit kinder." Just then, a puff of sparkling blue smoke appeared, and out stepped a mysterious figure. She was dressed in robes that shimmered like a rainbow and had a crown of stars on her head. It was Stardust Celine, the most famous magician in all of Brightville. "Hello, children," she said with a smile. "I heard someone in town could use a touch of magic to learn about kindness." Hugo's eyes widened. "That's me," he blurted out. "But I don't need magic. I'm just honest." Celine raised an eyebrow and waved her wand. "Then let's add a little twist to your honesty, Hugo." The next morning, Hugo woke up feeling different. He brushed his teeth and looked in the mirror. "I look exactly the same," he said, shrugging. But when he opened his mouth to speak, something strange happened. At breakfast, his mom placed a plate of pancakes in front of him. They were a bit lopsided with syrup running off the sides. Hugo opened his mouth ready to say, "These look like wobbly clouds." But instead, his words came out as, "These are the fluffiest pancakes ever, Mom, thank you." His eyes went wide. That wasn't what he meant to say. Throughout the day, Hugo found himself saying kind things, even when he didn't mean to. When Macy showed him her new magic trick, which ended with a burst of glitter and a squeaky rubber duck, Hugo's mouth said, "Wow, that was so fun, Macy." Even though he was thinking, that trick was strange and silly. Macy beamed with pride. "Thanks, Hugo. I knew you'd like it." Word of Hugo's sudden kindness spread through Brightville. People began inviting him to more events, and friends who once frowned at his blunt words started laughing with him and asking him for advice. Hugo didn't know how to feel. Part of him liked the happiness around him, but part of him missed saying exactly what he thought. One afternoon, he ran into Stardust Celine in the town square. "Why did you do this to me?" Hugo asked, his voice trembling with confusion. Celine's eyes sparkled. "Honesty is important, Hugo, but so is kindness. Sometimes the truth needs to be shared in a way that lifts others up, not pushes them down." Hugo thought about how Macy had smiled at his compliment, and how Mr. Harrison had given him a warm loaf of bread that day. Maybe there was something magical about kind words. The day of the Festival of Wonders finally arrived. Hugo and Macy stood in the crowd, watching Stardust Celine perform. With a wave of her wand, she made twinkling stars dance in the sky and floating lanterns twirl like ballerinas. Then, Celine called out, "And now, Hugo, come join me for one last trick." Hugo gulped but stepped forward. Celine smiled down at him. "Now, Hugo, would you like to keep this kindness magic forever? Or would you like to go back to being your old self?" Hugo looked around at the crowd, at Macy's hopeful eyes, and at Mr. Harrison's thumbs up. He smiled. "I'd like to keep the magic, but can I use it on my own terms?" Celine nodded, waving her wand with a flourish. Done. From that day on, Hugo's words still held honesty, but they were wrapped in warmth and thoughtfulness. He learned that telling the truth didn't mean he had to be hurtful. Instead of saying, "That dress looks like a dancing watermelon," he'd say, "That's such a cheerful dress, Macy." Brightville was brighter than ever, and Hugo found that kindness had its own kind of magic, one that could change not just words, but hearts. And every night, as the stars glittered above the town, Hugo whispered, "Thank you, Stardust Celine," knowing he'd learned the most wonderful trick of all, the power of speaking from the heart. Hugo discovered that being honest is important, but adding kindness to the truth makes it more powerful. Sometimes, the way we say things matters just as much as what we say, and a little kindness can make the world shine a little brighter. The end. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more magical stories. We'd love to hear your favorite part in the comments below.